Have you ever picked up a penny and wondered if there could be something unusual hiding in plain sight? Not a treasure chest buried underground, not a rare artifact locked away in a museum, just a simple 1-cent coin that may have spent decades moving through cash registers, coffee shop counters, and forgotten jars across America. Imagine this. It's a quiet Saturday afternoon. You're cleaning out an old drawer that hasn't been opened in years. Among paper clips, receipts, and loose change, you find a handful of pennies. Most people would toss them into a coin jar without a second thought. But one date catches your eye, 1969. At first glance, it looks like every other Lincoln cent. But what if that ordinary-looking penny had a story far bigger than its face value? The year 1969 was a fascinating moment in American history. The country was witnessing enormous change. Americans watched as astronauts prepared for one of the most significant achievements ever accomplished by humanity. Technology was advancing rapidly, culture was evolving, and the world seemed to be moving into a new era almost overnight. While those historic events grabbed headlines, millions of Lincoln cents were quietly being produced by the United States Mint. These pennies entered circulation and became part of everyday American life. People used them for newspapers, vending machines, parking meters, and countless daily purchases. Most of those coins blended into the background of history. Yet decades later, collectors would begin paying closer attention to certain 1969 pennies. And that's where things start getting interesting. One reason collectors are drawn to the 1969 Lincoln cent is that not all examples are exactly alike. Depending on where the coin was struck, small details can make a significant difference in collector interest. Many 1969 pennies were produced without a mint mark in Philadelphia. Others were struck in Denver and display a small D mint mark beneath the date. San Francisco also produced cents during this period, marked with an S. To the average person, those tiny letters may seem unimportant. To collectors, they're often the first clue in identifying a coin's history. But mint marks are only part of the story. Experienced collectors know that some of the most exciting discoveries happen when tiny differences appear during the minting process. These differences, sometimes called varieties, can create unique characteristics that set one coin apart from millions of others. And when people talk about the 1969 penny, one particular variety often generates enormous curiosity. We'll get to that in a moment. First, let's talk about why collectors become so fascinated by coins in the first place. It's not always about money. In fact, many longtime collectors will tell you that the thrill comes from the hunt. Think about it. A rare painting usually hangs in a gallery. A rare sports car sits in a private collection. But a rare coin could theoretically appear almost anywhere. It could emerge from an old piggy bank, a family inheritance, a flea market purchase, or a forgotten box stored in an attic for decades. That possibility creates excitement. Every coin becomes a mystery waiting to be solved. And that brings us back to 1969. One of the most talked about Lincoln cent varieties associated with this year is the famous 1969S Doubled Die Obverse. Now, it's important to be realistic here. This variety is extremely rare. Most 1969 pennies are not this variety. However, the reason collectors discuss it so often is because the doubling can be dramatic enough to be visible on certain lettering and design elements when properly examined. Over the years, stories of discoveries have fueled interest among collectors nationwide. That's why many hobbyists still inspect 1969 pennies carefully whenever they encounter one. Even if the odds are low, the possibility keeps the search alive. And here's something many newer collectors don't realize. The value of any coin depends heavily on several factors. Condition matters. Rarity matters. Collector demand matters. Authentication matters. A common circulated 1969 penny may only be worth a modest amount above face value or sometimes simply face value itself, depending on condition and market demand. Meanwhile, scarcer varieties or exceptionally preserved examples can attract substantially more collector attention. This is why professional grading and authentication are often discussed within the coin collecting community. Without proper verification, it's impossible to accurately determine whether a coin possesses a significant variety or collectible characteristic. That's an important point because responsible collecting is based on research, patience, and education, not unrealistic expectations. Now, here's a lesser-known fact that surprises many people. Pennies are often among the most overlooked coins in America, yet they are also among the most studied by collectors. Why? Because nearly everyone has access to them. You don't need a large budget to start learning about Lincoln cents. Some collectors spend years building collections one coin at a time, studying dates, mint marks, and varieties along the way. The 1969 cent fits perfectly into that tradition. It's a coin that encourages curiosity, a coin that reminds us to slow down and look closer, a coin that demonstrates how history can survive in the smallest everyday objects. And perhaps that's the real appeal. Not necessarily finding a rare variety, not necessarily discovering something valuable, but realizing that a simple penny can connect us to a moment in time more than half a century ago. Think about the journey that coin may have taken. How many pockets carried it? How many stores accepted it? How many people handled it before it reached your collection? Every scratch, mark, and worn detail tells part of a story that can never be fully recreated. That's what makes coin collecting different from so many other hobbies. You're not just collecting metal, you're preserving pieces of history. So the next time a penny crosses your path, don't dismiss it too quickly. Take a closer look. Check the date. Look for the mint mark. Study the details. You never know what piece of history might be sitting right in front of you. And if you enjoyed this journey into the story behind the 1969 Lincoln cent, make sure to subscribe to HF Coins World for more fascinating coin discoveries, collector insights, and hidden stories from America's pocket change. Until next time, keep searching, keep learning, and don't forget to check your coins before they disappear back into circulation.